Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. So this talk is titled Where We're Going, We Don't Need Keyboards, Just Voice. Could have been just Where We're Going, We Don't Need Keyboards, but I needed to put voice in it so that you know what it's about. And a few words about Gradium. So we're one of the companies that was just listed among Foundation Frontier Labs. We train voice models for real-time interaction. We do transcription, synthesis, translation, transformation, all the kind of tasks you can want to perform on speech. And this company is a spin-off from a non-profit research lab called QTIE that we created 3 years ago, and in particular that introduced the first speech-to-speech conversational models, the first real-time speech translation systems, the first on-device models that can run on CPU. And the goal of Gradium is to turn frontier research into the best model to power voice AI. And basically, the idea of this talk is that for 40 years of mainstream computers and for a much longer story of interacting through text, we have been using keyboards as a way to manipulate a language that was very structured, a language that is a language of the machine and not the language of humans. In particular, when you use a computer, a lot of times you need to use special characters. When you write a URL, when you write a path, when you write a function in coding, so when you look for an exact match. So the way you communicate with the machine is you adapting to the language of the machine. But interestingly, over time, machines have kept learning our language. So with punch cards, it started with binary language, completely unintelligible to humans. That's what you see on the left. Then with assembly, we started to have something that start looking more like a human language. You can move, you can add, you can return. Modern high-level programming languages are even closer to a human language. But now typically the way, maybe not for an addition, but the way you code is typically by having a conversation with your coding agent. So you communicate with it in natural language. And what's interesting is that the most natural medium for natural language is voice. So when you speak 3 times faster than you type. It's the most natural way to get your thinking go through, to hesitate, to make mistake, to just go fast, and while being human in your interaction. And so interestingly, while we used to discipline ourselves a lot in the way we interacted with machines, now we have been able to make machine understand all the subtleties of human language. And to show you how it had been anticipated already in fiction, it's a video I took from my friend Quinla from Pipecat, but it's an extract from Star Trek, where you can see that people travel from the future to the 80s, and the things that shocks them the most is that people are not talking to their computer.
Please.
Computer? Computer? Ah. Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard. How quaint.
And more recently, a movie that I have a love-hate relationship with, which is the Her movie. I hate it because it's the analogy that everybody is using every time they release anything in voice. I love it because it's 13-year-old now, and it's still very good and old, aged very well in how it predicted interaction with machine.
Oh, what do I call you? Do you have a name?
Yes, Samantha.
Really? Where'd you get that name from?
I gave it to myself, actually.
How come?
Because I like the sound of it. Samantha.
And so where are we in the real world, right? Between these two, this huge timeline. So this is a very short video of a robot being powered by our voice models.
Hey, Ango, what's 7 times 13?
91. Why?
Okay. What's the capital of Burkina Faso?
It's Ouagadougou.
Spell it.
Ouagadougou.
Correct. I'm testing you. Just making sure you're actually fast.
And?
Okay, you're fast. All right, harder question. Why do you think I'm testing you?
Because you don't trust me yet. Or maybe you do, but you're looking for a reason not to. There it is. I was wondering when you'd
Then I'd what?
relax.
So what you just heard is robot designed by one of the screenwriters of Toy Story. It's operating what we call a voice agent. And what is interesting is we saw two things that led to the current rise of voice AI. Two technologies have progressed at the same time. LLMs have gone from very basic just text models to actual agents that can reason, that can do tool calls, that can access databases, that can perform actions. And at the same time, voice models have become faster, more natural, more accurate. And so the joint improvement of both intelligence and naturalness of voice have led to now interactions that not only feel more human, but are actually also quite useful. But let's go back again in time. I love this video because it's the announcement of Siri in 2011, and that's the very first demo that is shown of the Siri app on iPhone.
What is the weather like today?
Here's the forecast for today.
It is that easy. Lots of things. We've integrated with the stocks, so you can ask it about the stock market. Something like, how is the NASDAQ doing today?
NASDAQ Composite is down right now at 2,321.70.
So looking at it, honestly, it's not that bad, you know. I mean, it's an actual agent. It can do actions, it can give you the weather, it can go through your contacts and so on. What is hidden behind it is the complexity was insane. So the possibilities of such a system were extremely constrained. Basically what happened, it was before LLM. It will transcribe what you say, and then we'll go through a very complex sequence of operations to map what you said to a specific intent, which is, for example, report weather or give the contact of this person. That will then activate very specific constrained functions that will create a very constrained response that will be generated back. So this extremely complex system was working well for extremely constrained setups. So that's what we used to call close-ended agents. So you could speak about specific topics. It was just impossible for it to go through review an open conversation about any topic. And what came after, and I think was, a big step change, were the first conversational LLMs. So I'm talking about, for example, here I'm going to show the voice mode of OpenAI, not the advanced one, the old one. And basically, the idea was that for the first time, you could have an open conversation through voice.
We want to hear a bedtime story. Tell us a story about the super duper sunflower hedgehog named Larry. Start with telling us a little bit about him.
Larry was a unique hedgehog unlike any other. He had bright sunflower petals instead of spines. Residing in Meadowville, Larry spread joy and color wherever he rolled. People cherished his radiant presence.
So now the idea is that you have replaced all the complex logic of Siri with a single model, right? It's just an LLM. So understanding the intent behind your speech and mapping it to an answerer just goes through a single neural network, which is a LLM. It's great. At the same time, it cannot do really anything, right? So it was not agentic, as we would say, in the sense that if it needed an external information or to perform a specific operation, it was impossible for it to do. So it was nice for chit-chat, but could not really do more than that. Now we are in the era of what we call voice agents. So voice agents is just agents that you make talk. This is a POC we did for a fast food company in the US. One of the rising applications of voice is drive-through. So imagine that you're on the little machine at the drive-through, and you want to ask an open-ended question, right? You don't want to pick an item in the menu. You don't know about the menu. You may have restrictions. Maybe you're vegetarian, so you just want to ask, do you have any vegetarian option? This is a complex question that needs to be compared to existing catalog of products. So that's an agentic task.
Hi there. What can I get started for you today?
Hi, I'm actually in a hurry and I'd like to order a chicken sandwich quickly.
We have the classic, spicy, deluxe, or grilled chicken sandwich. Which one would you like?
Let's go with the classic chicken sandwich.
Anything else for you?
What else do you have in the menu?
We have sandwiches, sides, drinks, and desserts. What can I get for you?
Can I get some mac and cheese, maybe?
You have a classic chicken sandwich and mac and cheese. Your total comes to $8.82.
So here you saw what happened is that not only it's a conversational interface, but it actually understands from what you said that you selected specific items that go into your basket, and you have all these tool calling and access to data that is performed on top of the conversational experience. However, what is interesting is that the naturalness of such experiences is still limited. In particular, the latency in the previous video was quite good, but it's still more latency than you'll have with a human. And if we looked at the previous model I showed from OpenAI, the latency was actually 5 to 6 seconds, which is way more than you have in actual human conversation. In a human conversation, not only the latency is rather a quarter or a fifth of a second, but there is no specific turn taking. So when you speak with someone, it's a bidirectional conversation, right? And OpenAI released just yesterday their bidirectional model. The idea is that when people are talking to you, they can speak over you can speak over them, you can get interrupted, and it's fine. The conversation keeps going. You don't break on yourself just because someone interrupted you. Cascaded systems where you have speech-to-text, LLM, and text-to-speech, when you interrupt them, or if you cough, or if you just say, they stop, they interrupt themselves, and you get all these very complex things that you need to handle. So the idea here is that you get rid of a cascade, you just get a single model that goes from audio to audio and does not rely on any notion of turn, right? It's not listening or speaking, it's just running, and it can speak while listening. When it doesn't speak, it actually produces silence, but it still produces something. It's just operating in a continuous mode, right? And that's what we call full duplex conversation. And now, almost exactly 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago, we showed Moshi. It was around the same time the advanced voice mode from OpenAI was announced, which was still not full duplex. It was still turn-based. And what you're going to see in this short snippet is my co-founder Alex is talking to Moshi, and they are going to talk over one another, and it's just fine. The model can recover, and there is no break in the conversational flow.
So the planet is Sirius 22. Can you plot a trajectory course to it, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long is it going to take us to get there?
I've mapped it out. It's
Okay.
approximately 5 months to get there.
Okay, that's not too bad. Do you think we have all we need on board the ship to start the
Yes,
mission?
sir. We have everything we need.
So what you just heard is what we call a full duplex conversational system. That's eventually what will be required to bring voice technology to the same level of interaction you have with a human. So what I show behind is an example that I love mentioning for what is the next frontier in voice. So here you have a robot in a factory, an humanoid, right? It's going to soon to work with human workers in a very noisy setting. You'll have several people talking, irrelevant to the robot. Maybe someone will call the robot from several meters away. So you have the noise component. Most voice agents today are developed for interactions on the phone. So the signal is very clean. It's a single person. It's just because you speak very close to your mic. Now imagine what it looks like from the point of view of a robot that has several microphones. It hears what we call an acoustic scene, which is very complex with machines, with people talking to it, people not talking to it. It needs to figure out all this stuff. The sessions are going to be very long. If the robot is in the factory all day, it needs to be able to follow very complex and long conversations, right? And finally, one task that is called diarization is the one of understanding who said what. Again, in most voice demos, you have someone talking to their computer by themselves. So the model just understands what is said, regardless of who says it. It's relevant. Now, imagine that you have 4 people talking to you as a robot, and they disagree with one another. If you are not able to tell who said what, you just get a mix of speech that is impossible to understand. One good example to understand that is if you activate the subtitles on YouTube, activate them on a political debate, you just get a continuous stream of words. For someone who just relies on the subtitles, it's impossible to understand what the hell is happening. So This is the next frontier because it's going to completely need a reset of the way we do voice AI. Everything that we do right now has been tailored for interactions with a phone or a computer. But if there is one where a keyboard can definitely not exist, it's robotics. And this one is going to be the next frontier in terms of technical challenges because none of this has been solved or even, to be honest, really addressed seriously by anyone because everybody is focusing, including us, on the same thing, which is interactions on the phone at the moment. And so what does it bring? Voice AI that started a few years ago with mostly audiobooks, that was the main application, or news articles. Now it's mostly about real-time interaction. And it's about customer support. That's one of the most highest growing industry, enterprise, NPCs in video games. So among the applications that we are doing, we're supporting through Gradium, there are interactive NPCs in video games, coach that teach you how to play a game, sport commentators that comment your game while the game is going, customer support, being able to take an appointment on a Saturday at midnight without ever waiting again, having infinite patience from the agent if you don't understand what they say, unlike a human operator. There is obviously a lot of applications in learning, language learning, where conversation is the missing part and the most challenging one when you learn an external language. So all these applications are now powered with voice agents, and this scope is growing constantly. And basically, voice, I think, eventually is going to become the operating system. And what I mean by that is right now it's a feature in your app. You know, you can press the microphone button on OpenAI or Claude or whatever to talk. What is very clear is that eventually the main medium of interaction with machines will be voice. So even the way you will interact with your computer will be with an always on, always listening asynchronous agent. In coding, we see that, right? People went from talking to a single Claude agent or codex to now talking to a manager of sub-agents that manage sub-agents that manage sub-agents. The biggest power user of voice I know, they don't talk to an agent. They talk to the big boss, the agent at the top of the hierarchy. And most of the time, you can even talk to it on the phone. So the way of interacting and managing development and working on a computer is already going through big transitions. So why will you need a keyboard then? That's the conclusion of this talk. And to summarize, again, the way we power all these applications, you can use us for free on Gradium.ai. We are also recruiting technical talent, GTM talent. We are based in Paris. We just announced a new funding from a new round, which leads us to open an office in SF. So try our models, and if you want to work with us, just let us know. Thanks a lot for your attention.